Well, thank you and good morning. Oops. So I'm here this morning to speak a little bit about Baszucki Group and the foundation that I work for. But first, just wanted to thank Anna, Sonia, the MITO2i team, and of course U of T for hosting this today. It's good to be able to be back on campus. I've been teaching at U of T for the last 4 years and have yet to set foot on campus, so it's nice to be back on a beautiful spring day. As I was walking across front campus, I was thinking about when I was writing my thesis here, and I used to go sit in Hart House every day and write when the students were gone in the summer. And just had that really special feeling that only U of T seems to have. So it's exciting to be here today. Baszucki Group is named after the founders, Jen and Dave Baszucki. Dave is the founder and CEO of a company called Roblox. As I tell everyone, if you have children between the ages of 8 and 15, you know what Roblox is. And Jen is an author. She's worked in marketing and communications in Silicon Valley. They're both wonderful people with 4 lovely children. And they started the foundation to really focus on issues that were near and dear to their heart. The foundation has 4 pillars. We focus on regenerative agriculture, so really thinking about good farming practices and sustainability and the future of our environment. Electoral innovation, which is really about everyone being able to vote and voting for the people in a ranked choice fashion. Metabolism and mental health and metabolic mind. And you'll notice that the metabolic mind new logo looks an awful lot like mitochondria because, of course, mitochondria are instrumental in metabolic health. And around the offices, Annie, you must know that MITO2i is seen as one of the elite metabolic research communities in the world. In terms of giving, so the foundation actually shares a birthday around the same time as MITO2i. So we've been around since mid-2020. In the past 4 years, we've given out more than $90 million. As you can see in the blue bar circle, most of it is focused on mental health and science-related activities. I'll talk a little bit about the family and why they're interested in mental health. Their son, Matt, in his first year of university, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Matt had several years of very difficult journey, having essentially medically refractory bipolar disorder. The family, of course, when this happened, decided that they wanted to have a focus on giving in this area. So much of this blue bar that you see here is focused just on general bipolar disorder research. Matt eventually came to meet a psychiatrist at Harvard called Chris Palmer, who was using ketogenic or low carbohydrate diets essentially to treat mental health conditions. Matt started keto and has been essentially symptom-free for the last few years. So he's basically in full remission. And since that moment, the foundation has really begun focusing its efforts in in metabolic health and mental health. This is the team. So Jan's on the top left. She, as I always say, is someone who could be spending her time sitting on an island somewhere and enjoying life, but instead she's in the office every day. She drives us very hard, as she should be, and she is passionately driven to make significant changes in the field of mental health. Carolyn's our COO. The research team is Julie, Burchin, and I, so we're a small shop. Liz runs all the regenerative agriculture and electoral innovation programs. And then Brett and Hannah form the Metabolic Mind team. If you're familiar at all with our foundation and our YouTube channel, you'll know Brett. You'll recognize his voice. He does a lot of YouTube videos focused on ketogenic diet and mental health. And if you haven't, I highly recommend you check them out. You can look at Metabolic Mind on YouTube. So Common Ground is a film that Jan was an executive producer on. It basically talks about saving the planet 1 acre at a time, regenerative agriculture. It's out in movie theaters right now. I recommend, if you haven't seen it, that you go check it out. In terms of electoral innovation, the focus is really around open primaries. This is a very American way of voting. All the language is a bit unique to me, but open primaries, so all eligible voters can vote for any candidate they want to, and then final 4, final 5 ranked choice voting. So they're trying to nudge change in the electoral system in the US. Metabolic psychiatry, of course, is one of our major foci. We think about the foods that we eat. We think about how our body turns those foods into energy and how our brain responds to that in terms of our mental wellness. We really have three key pillars of what we're focused on. One is generating evidence. So we think we need more evidence to demonstrate the effectiveness and utility of metabolic therapies in mental health. We're interested in capacity building, so we want to have funding available to bring people into this space. We want to have funding available to recognize champions in this space. And we want to help train people that want to be trained on how to both do research as well as provide clinical care from a metabolic psychiatry perspective. And then, of course, the third pillar is advocacy. We want to be talking a lot about metabolic psychiatry, about the link between metabolic health and mental health and building awareness in that space. So the Metabolic Mind side of the shop is really focused on four things: education, community, outreach, and then there's a place called My Metabolic Mind where you can go and tell your story. This is just the timeline. So the ketogenic diet was developed in 1921, and it was initially developed to mimic the physiological effects of fasting. It was used mostly in the epilepsy space. There's been programs all around the world for especially children with refractory epilepsy. In 1965, there's a study done in schizophrenia looking at ketogenic diet. As you can see, there's a long gap. And then after Jen and Dave's experience with their son on keto for his bipolar disorder, you can see the explosion of studies that have begun to be funded mostly through our foundation, but also others around the world as well. These studies are taking place all over. We have monthly meetings with people running clinical trials in ketogenic therapy in serious mental illness. So you can see there's a lot of work happening in Canada, the US, in Europe, or I guess the UK, we must say now, and Australia. This is a list of 13 clinical trials that are active right now. The first three have actually wrapped up. So Dr. Shabani Sethi's study at Stanford University came out a few weeks ago. It's a pilot study, but I think it landed pretty hard in the field, demonstrating that not only were they able to resolve metabolic disease in 100% of the people involved in the study, but they're actually able to resolve psychiatric conditions in people with bipolar disorder. About half of them, we call it the R word, something that you never hear about in psychiatry, but essentially resolution of disease, where people are no longer demonstrating symptoms of having a mental health condition. I will also point out the study taking place at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'll be proud to introduce Dr. Mary Phillips here in a minute. This is just the result from Dr. Sethi's study at Stanford. Again, it was a pilot study, 21 individuals. One of the things we don't know about is, well, can someone with a mental health condition comply with a ketogenic diet? It's not easy to cut carbohydrates out of your diet. I'm sure most of us here this morning have already had, several dozens of grams of carbohydrates at breakfast alone. But in fact, they had a lot of success. 96% of the people involved in the study achieved ketosis, meaning they weren't consuming carbohydrates and their body was metabolizing fat into ketone bodies. 100% of them who had metabolic syndrome were able to resolve their metabolic syndrome. They had full adherence to the diet, and again, 14 individuals saw full resolution of their psychiatric symptoms. I've already spoken to this, I'm just going to pass by. So we've given over about $60 million in the space of mental health research in the last 4 years. As I mentioned, it was more recently that we've begun to focus on metabolic health and the link between metabolic health and mental health. So there's been about $28 million given specifically to that cause, 21 research projects that have been funded. Every year we've begun hosting a meeting where we bring some of our champions together, and we're going to be doing that again this fall. And then trying to get more active online on social media to really help build the audience in that space. In terms of our strategic foci moving forward, we're really focused on four things. One is scaling clinical trials. We've got a lot of pilot trials. As you'll hear, Dr. Phillips' study is a much larger study looking both at the clinical as well as some of the basic science and translational elements of ketogenic therapy and mental health. Learning health systems, this is embedding research into clinical care settings. So we're working with a few psychiatric care facilities to implement ketogenic therapy with their clients, and then embed a whole research process in, so they're learning in real time, and there's a really close link between the collection of data, learning from those data in the quality improvement of clinical care. We're doing some work right now around consensus building. So what are experts in the field, what can they agree on, just to set the bar to provide some direction to those that are interested in this space. And then, of course, awarding individuals in this space who are doing great work. So I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'm going to